Hello, I have a bone to pick with PirateSoftware's website. I don't intend to be covering his mess that has been recently going on with relation to Stop Killing Games or World of Warcraft or anything else. If you need my opinion on that, if you're a European citizen, go out and sign the petition, the Stop Killing Games thing. Make sure you fill it out correctly. Yeah, that's all I have to say with that. I've just had a bone to pick with this guy's website for a long while, and the general sentiment around game dev of you should just become a game developer. Are you interested? You should become a game developer. You should just make video games. This is not to say I want to gatekeep being a game developer. This is not to say that game development is necessarily a bad thing. I am a professional game developer working for Sony Interactive Entertainment as part of Haven Studios in Montreal right now. And I also, in my free time, develop, sell, and otherwise release indie video games. So certainly I enjoy it very much. It's just a matter of while making video games is a fun thing that I do think more people should partake in, it is certainly A, not for anyone, B, not easy, C, probably not a good career. I don't regret my decision, but if I was trying to have a stable, easy career, I wouldn't be here. So if you were to go on Pirate Software's Twitter account, as many have over the last month, you will see that the very first link in there is develop.games. If you were to click on this link at develop.games, on the top left you see V108, Chat is Stinky Edition. Now, I'm not opposed to this, but also this is a streamer in-joke and nothing related to game development, and it shouldn't be the first thing anyone sees on the first part of the screen they look at. Then there is a big Gamedev button, which leads to the site itself, so shouldn't be there. And then there's a Game Jam button. I will go back to that Game Jam button imminently, but before we do that, there is a navigation bar on the left, again, that will be covered later, and a live Twitch dev stream of Pirate Software not developing video games. Now, I understand that you want to take some credit and benefit out of your work. And I understand that you're a game developer, at least self-styled as such, so you want to, show game development happening on Twitch. The problem is, you don't stream game development most of the time, from what I can tell, Jason. So, when you have this stream thing up, I would say the best thing to do for community's sake would be to have the top game dev streamer at the time, or just not have this at the top of a website that's supposed to teach people to develop video games and not promote you personally. Next up, we have that Jam button I said I was going to cover. This leads to Pirate Software's Game Jam 17 on itch.io. There were 16 previous Game Jams, each with a lot of attendance and games actually made. So, you know what? While I'm personally against competitive jams for reasons I might go into in another video, I have to say, this man has gotten people to make video games, and that is fundamentally a thing I agree is good and nice and should be done. So I'm giving Pirate Software points on this one. However, I will draw your attention to the fact that there is a YouTube video linked by himself listed as "Can I make a video game? Yes, you can," and the title's "Make Video Games." It's a 45-minute video basically going over what the website has, which I will not be covering in this one. So yeah. Anyway, so what if you were to check out Pirate Software's itch account that started this game jam? Now, if you're unaware, itch.io is a platform that acts more like a community bazaar than Steam's more organized marketplace for game developers and game jams, where you can put up whatever is even remotely related to game development, including tabletop stuff. It's a really cool platform. Anyway, on itch.io, Pirate Software's account has 2 links to the 2 games they have made, as well as game development. Now, this is not a video game. This is a page used on a game distribution site to preach that game development is doable. Once again, I don't know why Jason feels the need to consistently repeat this message of you can become a game developer. Now, if you were to run through or skip all of the fluff that is on this website that this video is about and get through the part where he describes to you how to make a video game, He opens with, "Who are you?" I think this is very valid to say. I opened this video in the same way. Then goes into the skills required and basically makes the point that if you lack a particular skill, that is a way to encourage your creativity that can be worked around and should in fact be worked around. The next section is how to pick a genre. Now, in this section, instead of talking about how to pick a genre of game to make, Jason instead gives actually really useful advice of do not try to make a GTA or Call of Duty as your very first game. I am in wholehearted agreement with this statement. He also covers that with all of his previous experience, which dubious claim, he still had to make Champions of Breakfast, a month-long small project that didn't do well on Steam, as a preparation for his bigger project, Heartbound. We will go into Heartbound soon. Then there's building a team. He doesn't go into the finance section of building a team, but he does go into find people on Discord, which has been really successful in my projects. So again, cannot diss it. In the tools section, there is a crash course on which tools you can use. And in financing, this part is really interesting because he admits that PirateSoftware as a game development company would not exist without the streaming income. And then he covers the basics of doing financing. Again, useful stuff, especially for an up-and-coming indie. And at the very end of this, there is a section hilariously called Scams with this image attached. Okay, sorry, I just had to. It was a shot too easy not to take. But, seriously, time to cover Heartbound. PirateSoftware's one big release that they have even ran a Kickstarter for successfully, mind you. So, if we go on the Steam page, we will see that it is currently overwhelmingly negative. I do believe this is a review bomb, and no matter how terrible the person is, the game should be judged on its own merits. I am, however, also not going to play Heartbound because it, to me, doesn't seem like the sort of thing I would be into at the very least. I will instead go down some relevant factors that are very visible on the Steam page. For example, the release date is 24th of December 2018. That is now 7 years ago. And the game is still in early access. I imagine you know what this means. This means that the game is fundamentally not complete yet. Early access doesn't just mean this is a full game that's going to get updates. Early access means this is a game that I wouldn't press on a CD and send to people or release on console. And it has been this way for 7 years for a top-down indie RPG. I know these games take a lot of time. I was personally on An Outcry, a lovely video game that almost won a huge award that is of the same genre and took the head developer 3 or 4 years and lots of our own money to complete, but that game was completed in 3 to 4 years and almost won awards. I am not talking about Heartbound just to punch down on this now widely hated person. I am trying to illustrate a point about game development, and to fully do this, we need to go into the Heartbound Kickstarter. One thing that I also must note is that the website itself very openly states that you should only do a Kickstarter when you know you will succeed. So, assumedly, PirateSoftware went into this knowing that they would succeed, and there is no shame in wanting more money for your game before it is released, because again, making games takes a lot of time, costs a lot of money, and you want to pay yourself and your staff ideally. So they made almost $20,000 out of their $5,000 goal. And that great success was backed with the promise, or estimated delivery date at least, of December 2017 for the game. If you remember that Steam page a while back, the game was never delivered on December 2017. It was in fact delivered late December 2018 and is still in early access and hence not considered a full release and not fully done. Now, we know that this happens relatively often on Kickstarter, and PirateSoftware still has delivered more than many. However, the Kickstarter also never mentions that this would be an early access release, and knowing that they went into this, knowing that they would succeed and effectively that it was some extra cash for their game that was already going to get developed either way, as well as the Kickstarter page claim that their systems were complete and that their story was already written, this just reflects really badly on your studio's ability to scope out a project make reasonable and honest promises about the deliverables, and have the capability to actually make those come to life. This has failed to some extent on all of these fronts. There is indeed a game that you can play, but it is admittedly by the developers not a complete video game yet, after 7 years. In conclusion, I'm not here accusing Jason PirateSoftware of not being a game developer. He has clearly released video games. Early access video games are still video games, and there is the other one that he released. I am also not calling him a scammer for failing to deliver some of the things his Kickstarter implies about Heartbound. The reason this video was made is, while it is useful that we have a general wiki/guidebook style crash course into game development and an assurance that you can do it, all of the advice on marketing, financing, and launching your game very much implies that this is gearing the person to think that they can have a career in this, which is a different thing. It is also poor taste to use this website as a self-promotion opportunity. And Jason himself is not a game developer for his job. He is a Twitch streamer with a game development hobby. Now, this is a really cool hobby that I would encourage more people to get into. However, it is dishonest of him to act like an authority on this matter on account of he self-admits on his website that he could not make a living making video games had it not been for his Twitch channel. And so, what if you wanted to be a game developer full-time as your way of making a living? Well, for you, I have created this handy flowchart. I will not go over every branch of the flowchart manually. The point is that it requires a special kind of dog in you, as well as 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, and whatever else that one song says. If you are willing, able, and lucky enough to do it as a career, congratulations. However, just because you can make a video game does not mean you can make game development your career. And if you treat it like that, then it's going to treat you very badly. If you treat it like learning the guitar in hopes of maybe one day becoming a musician, but you also just like playing the guitar, then you'll have a way better time. Thank you. Feel free to like and subscribe. The upcoming content will be a lot more positive and or interesting and or better produced. Thanks again.